Hello, Rimfire friends. I hope everybody is doing well. I'm pretty excited to kind of show you the rifle in this video because it's not so often in my life anymore where I come across a rifle that I've been after for years and haven't been able to obtain. So I've been collecting, or I've been a licensed firearm owner in Canada since I was 16 years old. So we're going on over 30 years. And there's pretty much, it's hard to say how many rimfires I've had, but the list that I haven't had or that I want is rather short. And so this rifle ticks a box for me that I've been trying to tick for a few years now, several, and finally was able to. So I posted up a picture, kind of a teaser picture recently about coming soon, and so the day has arrived. This is a BSA Supersport 5. Not only is this a BSA Supersport 5, it is first year of production and 4-digit serial number. Supersport 5. So a quick history on these guys. BSA came out with the Sportsman series. There was a single shot Sportsman, a 5-shot box, 10-round tube, and 15-round tube. And they were kind of like the, I don't know, utility kind of firearm of their day. And they were super popular and they sold like crazy. This was in the late 40s, early 50s. And then in the early 50s, BSA introduced this guy as kind of like a deluxe version. And they only produce 7,000 or so of these. So the numbers are very, very low compared to the other less expensive model. And even though they continued into the 60s, it didn't sell super well, which is too bad because it was designed to compete with rifles like Bruno, and the quality is certainly there. And these were made with French walnut stocks, and BSA, has always been known for their quality, and they definitely didn't disappoint with this one. So this one has some issues, which I'm going to talk about in a second, but probably most of you will realize right away that it's wearing a scope with some very strange blocks. Someone has drilled this for blocks at one time, and they have bizarre spacing. So I've slapped a kind of scope on there to kind of give you guys a sense of what we're talking about in terms of what it looks like. But it's a very large spacing and a very forward eye relief, something I got to work on. Rear sight was missing when I got it, and also it's been at one time screw cut for a moderator. The pitch is weird. It wasn't anything standard that I could find quickly in the shop, so I say weird, but it's just some sort of metric threading I got to figure out, make a cap for. Because we can't have those silencing devices here in Canada. They're prohibited devices. But anyway, so I'm gonna have to make a cap to cover that. But none of that matters because I was looking for a shooter, and first and foremost, I wanted one of these for my collection. So some of you might know that these guns, the magazines alone are worth more than the whole rifle commands in prices, with several $100s. And so to get one with a complete mag is absolutely amazing. And this one's actually pretty nice. I've had it apart. There's no corrosion inside. There's a little bit on the spring, which is typical. I actually made one of these for somebody several years ago from scratch so they could have a kind of like a version. And I used a Marlin magazine. So I'm kind of familiar with the actual magazine and how it functions. So that sort of thing is nothing new. It's nice to have one that works. It's a 5-rounder with a built-in catch on the side here. And it just basically very nicely made, of course. These rifles are kind of unique because whereas the Sportsman series didn't have an adjustable trigger, these guys had a beautiful adjustable trigger, and this one is hovering about a pound. It can go slightly lower, but they are absolutely wonderful triggers, and the pull weight is adjusted here, and you can tune it for a single or a dual stage trigger at the back, and these are all things that you can play with. And so the trigger itself is excellent. I would say pull-wise, it is probably on par with a nicely tuned Bruno Model 1, and you can get it to a point where it definitely surpassed any sort of sporter of its day. I feel that, like, being French walnut, like, back in the day, these were just absolutely exquisitely figured rather pieces of wood for the price point. And they featured an alloy kind of, that's another very cool thing about this rifle is it doesn't have a bottom metal like a typical rifle that screws and attaches to the action. The bottom metal is actually attached to the rifle receiver and it slides through a slot cut out of the stock. I'll show you guys that in a second. It's actually a really, really tight fit. Like, it's shocking how tight this is still after so many years, 80 years basically. And it has a single action screw here. This one was missing swivels. I've installed a modern one for hoping to get a bipod in the short section, although I'm not sure. And then I actually have an original BSA period correct sling swivel that I've put on the back just to fill the hole for this video. It has this strange hole drilled here with a slotted screw. I'm not sure what this is for, so I just left it. I'm not too worried about it, but just thought I'd show you what exactly is going on with it. So the bolt itself has a very decent short throw, and it's cock on close, and it reminds me very much of a Winchester 75. And you can see that it is absolutely, as anything BSA, super smooth and slick and made super well. Nice cock on close, nothing crazy, like no forceful closing at all. It has a nice kind of hunter style safety that's totally silent, and it locks the bolt closed and does everything it's supposed to do. The bolt itself is kind of a standard affair. It's a little bit different than the Sportsman I mentioned, in that this has a kind of like a solid bolt handle to the bolt body, whereas that one was removable. Twin extractors, and the firing pin runs down inside that channel there. And it's actually just like a really nicely made bolt. It reminds me, like I said, quite a bit of, a Bruno kind of construction-wise in terms of thickness of the receiver. But more on, I would say, kind of like Savage-esque, or actually probably Anschutz 64. Early Anschutz 64 would probably be a really nice comparison in terms of, I would say, build-wise, like an Anschutz 64 more than a Bruno. Brunos are a little bit more substantial. This is a very slender and elegant rifle, more so than a Bruno, in my opinion. So anyway, so the bolt just comes out like that. Pretty straightforward affair. And like I said, twin extractors. Come on. Nice firing pin. This one has excellent firing pin imprint. Will give me no trouble whatsoever. So I'll show you guys really quick and what it looks like out of the stock, because one of the cool things about featuring this rifle in a video is that there's none on YouTube, which is sad in a way, but there's a gentleman shooting one, which is kind of awesome, but there's barely any pictures of the trigger group or how it functions or anything like that. So I thought I would showcase that really quick. So these are, like I mentioned, very difficult to get out of the stock, and I definitely something that you'd have to be mindful of, because there's definitely a pressure, sorry, I couldn't frame there, a pressure point that you could create and split the stock. So you can kind of work it out. You can see how tight that is, and that's normal for these. Super tight, which is good. But anyway, I'll show you the stock here, and you can see that slotted cutout there. Wait, some of that oil off. But you can see it's very slender profile back here, and you definitely want to be careful of it putting it back together. And the barrel channel. So somebody at one time has sanded this barrel channel a little bit to free float a little bit, although I doubt very much from the factory with a single action screw that BSA had any intentions of free floating this. It probably had a pressure point that they've sanded out. But anyway, that was kind of typical of somebody owning it in the modern day wanting to free float it. So here you have the barrel lug, and this is what retains it into the stock, of course. And then you have a nice profile thick barrel. And this is the trigger group itself. It's alloy. And then you have the safety on the side here, and you can see the trigger pull weight screw here. And then at the back, the other one. And so that's how the trigger functions. And you can see there, try to get your frame, you can see the sear surfaces through the window. And then on top you have the actual sear that catches the bolt itself, firing pin mechanism. So this is like a one-piece affair, and it houses the magazine well and, you know, all the trigger group itself. So it makes for a little bit of a different than the norm rifle of the period, where they would have a bottom metal that you'd attach and things would be on there. And there's just one screw in the back, and then when you undo this screw, and the whole assembly just slides out. And I would show you that, but I'm not gonna, for obvious reasons I've talked about before. I don't want to get into messing with anything. I just want to show you guys how it works, and what it looks like. It's pretty straightforward. But you would just loosen the screw at the back, and the whole assembly literally just slides out and then slides back in, nothing to it. And the ejector piece is up on top of the magwell in the bolts guide. You can kind of see it down in there. It'll focus on me. And this was actually like, one of the cool things that I liked is with the scope off, when I was cleaning it, you can actually fit like a standard shop brush in here, because this rifle is one of the dirtiest rifles I've had in I don't know how long. It was absolutely filthy. So it was super nice to be able to just get a brush in there and clean it up. But anyway, I'm super excited. This is a super exciting day for me because I've wanted one for so long. So we got some markings on the top that say the Birmingham Small Arms Co. Limited, England, BSA Supersport 5, 22 long rifle. And then we have the serial number right there, and SA, and that prefix means that this was a first year of production model, which was made from, I believe it was 54 until 57. And then they changed to a different prefix on this letter code. So this one was one of the first years before they made a change and rebadged it. So a very early one. And then made in England. And then on the other side, we have always wonderful, I absolutely love the kind of the UK proof marks. They put stuff like 8 tons per, stuff like that. And the British crowns and stuff like that. I absolutely love seeing those. Really cool, really different. So anyway, I'm to kind of like wrap it up, I'm super okay with this being drilled and tapped for these bizarre bases because, well, they're kind of quaint and it gives me the opportunity to use a scope, which otherwise I would never drill and tap a nice example. So I'm happy to do that. I have to play around with scope combinations because this is the only one that I could get enough fitting on, and it's only a 3x9, so it'll work for, you know, kind of basic groups. But I'd really like to see what this rifle can do because they were known for superior accuracy. That was kind of what they were known for. So I've only heard kind of, or read rather, reports on them, and they're supposed to shoot quite well. So I'm pretty excited to see how this one shoots. Normally I don't really go for you know, sporting rifles anymore, but because I've wanted this one for so long, so I'm pretty excited about it. I should probably talk about the safety here on the side. It's got a really cool kind of indexing wheel and like a leaf spring that fits into it, and seems to do its job pretty good. Although I think it could be a little bit tighter, but it just could be because it's worn. But anyway, so that's kind of what we're dealing with. And like, I'm not going to attempt to get this back in the stock on camera for you guys because it is kind of, I got to be really careful with it. And it would take too long, I'm sure. Give a shot of the butt plate. It's the original butt plate. And these were vulcanized rubber. And this one's in pretty good shape. There's a little bit of shrinkage, a couple spots, but it's done its job protecting the toe and the heel pretty good. And then it has this really nice Monte Carlo cheek piece, right? Like, it's such a nice piece of wood, and they did a really good job. And then it has this really kind of elegant drop here. Really cool. It's one of the things I like the most about it. And then quite a pistol grip for its time, which I really like as well. And then just excellent old school kind of grain on it. I don't believe this one's been refinished, but you know, if it was a long time ago. I don't think it has. The The inside of the action is quite dark, so it could have been, but that also could just be oil soak. It really doesn't matter anyway, but it definitely doesn't seem to sit any shorter around than the butt plate. So I think it is original finish. From the pictures I've seen, most of them are black and white kind of photos from back in the day, so it's hard to tell. But it seems that the lines are pretty crisp from what I can see. So normally you can see stuff like this gets blended over, right? But that's a very sharp line there. So normally people sand this way, right? And you can tell, but this one's flat across the action. So sorry, across the side of the stock. So that's what I think. Anyway, I thought I would share this rifle with you guys. Next time we see it, it'll be at the range, and we'll see what it'll do for us. But anyway, any questions or comments, leave them below, and I'll do my best to answer them. And if you have one of these, or if you've had one of these, please share your experiences with it, because like I said, I am absolutely stoked to get this rifle after looking for one for so many years. And like I said, condition didn't matter to me. I've actually had an opportunity to get one years ago, and it was priced very, very high on the spectrum, and it was missing the mag altogether. And if I remember, it had a single shot adapter in it somebody had made, and I passed on it because I knew the rarity, and I probably wouldn't have kept it all these years anyway. So I don't think I've ever seen a mag for sale separately that I remember anyway. And, you can make them, but it's not an easy chore and not something I wanted to spend the time on. Anyway, thanks a lot for watching. I'll catch you guys at the next one.